It's been a tough week in the world of New York Liberty basketball. After getting their season started with a win at home over the Connecticut Sun, the Liberty then traveled to Chicago to face the Sky for their inaugural road game of the 2022 season. The Liberty's performance in Chicago was far different from the one we saw on opening night. They lost by 33, and Sabrina Ionescu was held to a measly 2 points on an 0 for 5 shooting night from the field. Steph Dolson's return to Chicago was truly a disappointing one given the blowout loss. Following their tough road loss, the Liberty returned home for a 3-game homestand where things did not get any easier. On Friday, the Liberty lost in heartbreaking fashion to the young and quick Indiana Fever. Although Sabrina Ionescu's bounce-back 31-point performance made her the first player in the WNBA to drop 30-plus this season, a feeling of frustration was certainly starting to grow following those back-to-back losses. 2 days later, the homestand dragged on, but this time it was the Dallas Wings in town. The Liberty collected another loss on Sunday afternoon at the hands of the Arike Okumbawale-led Wings. While the Liberty hung around and only lost by 10, the Wings were surely the better team all night. In the first half of the Dallas game, Arike was held to only 3 points. It was Jocelyn Willoughby who took responsibility for the Arike matchup in the first half, and she surely won that battle. Although, on the other hand, in the second half, it was a whole different story. Sandy Brondello elected to keep Willoughby on the bench because the Liberty were having some trouble scoring, and Jocelyn simply does not provide all that much on the offensive end. This decision proved to be extremely costly. Without Willoughby on the floor, Arike really had her way en route to a 21-point performance, 18 of which came in the second half.
Yeah, I suppose we're looking at offense. So it's a yin and a yang, to be quite honest. And, Joss probably gives us more defense than she does offense. But yeah, their decisions, I always look back and say, I probably should have played Joss a little bit on Enrique. But like Enrique, we didn't force her to the screen. We're supposed to be trapping her at that stage, and that didn't really get done. And she's too good of a player to play her one-on-one.
Now, after 3 straight losses, the Liberty looked to end their homestand on a high note against a familiar foe in the Connecticut Sun. The Sun being the only team that the Liberty have beaten this season, they were not the worst opponent for Liberty to see after a week of poor play. On opening night, when the Liberty secured their only win of the season, the Sun were without Courtney Williams due to suspension and also without Dewana Bonner due to an overseas commitment. Now that the Sun were at full strength, the expectations for this game were far different than their first meeting. After getting started on an impressive 10-2 run, the Liberty were then outscored 90-55 in yet another blowout loss. Now that the Liberty have lost 4 straight, the question must be asked, why are they playing so poorly? The answer to that question is speed. No matter what the facet of the game may be, whether it's on the boards, getting back in transition, or even within defensive sets, the Liberty are often much slower than their opponent. The main issue has been the ability to keep up with their opponent on the defensive end, and a bright spot of the Liberty's defensive effort has been the play of Jocelyn Willoughby. And just to add insult to injury, the Liberty announced today that Willoughby will be out for 6 weeks with a partial tear in her left quad. The Liberty's lack of pace has truly been exemplified in Steph Dolson's foul trouble over the recent games. The Liberty's starting center was relatively unproductive in her most recent 2 games while watching her minutes dwindle due to foul trouble.
Yeah, I think she has good intent. She's trying to get just a little bit late in her rotations and, just having everyone having a little bit more discipline, not just Steph there. And, it was tough to get her to get any kind of flow. And, they didn't allow us any kind of post-ups. They 3-quarter fronted or they fronted a lot. And didn't get too many advantages there, but yeah.
For the Liberty to truly compete against the elite athletes in the W, they'll either need to make some big moves or instill a whole new level of passion and effort on the defensive end. Another angle of the Liberty's struggles has been the dependence on Sabrina Ionescu. The Liberty have truly only played 2 competitive games this season, opening night against the Sun and the first game of their most recent homestand versus the Fever. In those 2 games, Ionescu dropped 25 and 31 respectively. So what if Sabrina can't drop 30 for you? Are the Liberty now in need of 25 from Sabrina just to be competitive? At this point, it sure seems so. For For Liberty to bounce back from 4 straight losses, it will all start at the top with head coach Sandy Brondello. After losing 4 games in 7 days, Liberty now have a week off before heading to Minnesota for Tuesday night's matchup, meaning they have lots of time to reflect and hopefully become a more cohesive unit. Liberty currently stand at 1-4 overall and 1-3 at home. They'll be looking to get back in the win column this road trip. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Miles Grossman with WFUV Sports.